The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. My name is Joyce Duriga. I'm the editor of the Chicago Catholic, the newspaper for the Archdiocese of Chicago, and this is where we talk to the people who are making the headlines that we're covering in the latest issues of the paper. So we're doing a series of interviews with our Gabriel Fellows who've been working with our multimedia radio and television program for many months now. And but before that, we wanted to find out what the Gabriel Fellows program is. So we have Vince Girasoli, who's the director of multimedia content for the Archdiocese of Chicago, to help us learn all about it.
Well, I'm happy to be able to chit-chat with you today about it. We're really excited about this program. It has meant an awful lot to us, and it's just infused an awful lot of energy into our day-to-day operations here at the Archdiocese, where we produce content for various platforms at the Archdiocese. But it's just brought a spark of energy, and it's helped us cover more events, more material, more of the good things that are happening throughout the Archdiocese of Chicago. And at the same time, we've been able to watch these fellows put together film projects, mini documentaries, short form documentaries is the correct form. And it's been a delight working beside the filmmakers.
Now, how did it all get started?
Well, the program was made possible through a very generous donation from Jessica Sarowitz, who is a Chicagoan and also lives in the Los Angeles area and is involved in many things, one of them creating documentaries and creating films. And she was speaking with people on the staff here at the Archdiocese of Chicago about the power of content. You know, Joyce, you and I know about that because that's what we do for a living. And she was talking about the power of content and how maybe she might be able to help create a program where more content was created to tell the stories of everyday Catholics who are spreading the good word and who are bringing the help of the church to various communities. And so she got that conversation started, and she was able to endow this fellowship for 3 filmmakers. So when we were in the early stages, we were thinking, okay, well, who do we want these filmmakers to be? How are we going to choose them? And really, we came up with the idea that this would be an excellent opportunity for a recent graduate from a film program to spend a year with us, and they would be able to research and create their documentaries. And of course, that's a pretty big job in and of itself, but it doesn't need to take up 40 hours a week.
Sure.
And so when they weren't working on those projects, they would be working in our department. And for folks who don't know what we do in our department, we produce programs like the one you're hosting right now. We produce various programs for radio platforms and for our YouTube channel and Facebook spaces as well. And then we also produce broadcast masses in Polish and Spanish and English, and we travel out to different areas throughout the Archdiocese, different parishes, different ministries, and we spotlight the work that they do. So we felt that these fellows could both work on their individual projects, but they could also provide a helping hand as we do our best to cover what's going on in the Archdiocese. So that was step one. We'll work with young filmmakers who would come in and support us, but also would be working on their documentaries. So I went out to various universities that have film programs, not just nearby, but also in the New York area and out in Los Angeles. And we approached their faculty advisors, we approached their deans, and we said, hey, we have this opportunity available. So could we interest some of your students in it into applying? So maybe we should say what exactly was the opportunity. So they could join us here on staff, and they would also be paid members of our staff. So they received benefits, they received a paycheck.
It's amazing, yeah.
And they would join us for at least a year, maybe a bit longer. And they'd also have a budget. Each person would have a budget, and it's a considerable budget to make a documentary. And so we came up with that program, and we felt we could support 3 people with the funds that were available to come work with us and then to create these films. And so I went out and I spoke with various schools, and then we scheduled interviews with the students who were interested in the program. And it was actually difficult making the decision because there were a number of people who would have been, a great fit for the program. But the folks we eventually chose, there was, as I said before, you could see their spark even before they got here, and they were just very just inquisitive people and creative people, and they submitted selections of their previous work, sizzle reels is what we'll call it in the industry.
I renamed it Sizzle earlier today. It's called a Zizzle reel.
A sizzle reel.
Yeah.
But so they submitted sizzle reels, and we looked at what their past work was, and we said, well, if you had to put together a documentary, you're not going to be held to creating the documentary you talk about now, but if you had to put something together, do some quick research, let us know what it would look like, and then, the cream tends to rise. And so we found 3 wonderful young filmmakers who came and joined us, and fortunately the donation also included equipment for them to tell these stories, and they are telling just wonderful stories, living like a fly on the wall with some of our ministries and some of the work that we're doing. I know that one of our filmmakers has traveled to Alaska to take a look at how the church reaches remote areas. There's one priest in particular that uses like a puddle jumper is what I'd call it, but flies from location to location. Another one of our filmmakers has spent time with our Colby House ministry, which works with incarcerated people and tries to help them make sense of what went wrong in their life and how they can turn things around. And actually, that filmmaker went behind the prison walls at the Cook County Jail and spoke with those who were incarcerated and taking part of the programs there. And then this is an issue that is reaching the top of the headlines, how the church is responding to the migrant crisis. And we have another filmmaker who took a look at that and the incredible journeys that some of these people went on and how the church is there for them to try to help them step into a viable, sustainable life here in the United States.
Well, and we're going to, obviously, folks who are watching this, we're going to meet one of these filmmakers each time on this series. But, I know this is a no-brainer for us, but why does it matter? Why does content matter in evangelization in the life of the church?
Well, there's 2 ways you can look at it. So first is, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And a lot of what we do with humility, and we're humble, and we don't try to market that to everyone. We just want to do our good works and not let everyone know about it. And that's very noble, but sometimes it's good to share that, because when you share that, what are the reactions? One reaction is, well, if they could do that, maybe they need my help to do more. And that's a good reason to save it. But also, you might inspire someone to find that spark in themselves to spread the messages of love and acceptance and help and faith. And so that's why it's important to tell these stories and to create this content. I think sometimes we tend to think of it as a pat on the back. Don't look at it like that. Look at it as sharing the word, inspiring others, and helping others find the courage or the strength or the talent in themselves to maybe go out and do the same. And
we've got like 2 minutes left, but when we go out to cover stories, we run into the fellows, but how would you say that they've really impacted the life of the church locally, as far as the stories they've been able to tell, and in your office, obviously?
Well, they've increased our reach, which is so important, because there are many things going on, and we only have so many people who work in our office. So how do you choose what to do? Well, they've given us the ability to be in 2 places at once, or 3 places at once, to create more content and to let more people know about what's going on in the Archdiocese. But also the energy they bring to it as well, which is they're actually, for them, sometimes this is the first time, everything's cyclical. So how many times have we been to certain events? It's just, 2022, 2023, 2024, but it's the first time for them. So there's this brand new energy, this brand new spark. And that's what they've been able to do. They've been able to help us increase our reach, and also to sort of take if it's the first time that they're at a particular event, they have a new frame of reference and they can cover it from that new point of view. And that's part of what they've helped to bring to us.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Vince, for telling us about the Gabriel Fellows. Please thank the donor. I think it's been a wonderful contribution to, evangelization and spreading the good news of the
Well,
church.
she's a filmmaker herself, and she believes in the power of communication. And I think this couldn't have happened without her foresight and without her belief in the program. And we were very happy that she had the idea in the first place.
I agree. Okay, folks who are listening or watching, stay tuned. We're going to have a sizzle reel for you in just a few seconds.
This is a good life, though. This will always be indented in me.
We're in the frontier. Not only the moon is, but we are.
It's a pretty rare combination to have somebody who is a priest who loves living in rural Alaska. Rural Alaska is a very challenging place, and is also a bush pilot, and can fly a plane. That is a very rare combination.
That was the sizzle reel for Malina Baer. She's one of our Gabriel Fellows, and she's here today to talk about her documentary that's coming out. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So, out of all the topics that you had to pick from, why did you pick this one, or how did you come up with this one?
Well, I guess to start from the beginning of this process, we had to make a documentary of our choosing, and it had to kind of be centered in Chicago. And so I was kind of thinking, I was like, okay, I didn't grow up in Chicago, but I have some attachment. I went to DePaul University, so I have some familiarity. But I kind of thought, okay, maybe there's something in Wisconsin, where I'm from, my hometown, or, just places like that, where maybe there's a story that I can tell from there. And so I originally thought maybe I can document a priest that travels to locations in rural northern Wisconsin, because we would go up in the summertime and we would go to Mass, and there was a priest that would have to travel an hour to say Mass. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Usually, when I'm in Chicago, there's priests that are based out of these parishes.
Right.
And they're, just here. And they don't have to travel, long distances to say Mass or serve their community. And I thought, okay, well, that's really cool. And I was like, maybe what's the extreme of that? Because film is very dramatic. And I was like, what's something that can kind of create a little bit more drama? And so I started researching actually different modes of transportation, maybe a priest that takes his snowmobile or something, to a different, place. And so I found a bush pilot priest that serves rural isolated communities in Alaska. And I did some research. He had a YouTube page, and he was just a great subject. You could see exactly, when someone's going to be good on camera. He has the charisma and kind of the personality that is very engaging to watch. And he makes his own YouTube videos of him flying.
That's neat.
So I thought, okay, this is a good subject. This is somebody that I can talk to.
Go ahead. Who's the priest, and what's the whole documentary about?
Sure. The priest is Father Scott. He's based out of Dillingham, Alaska, which is in southwest Alaska. It's a village of probably about 2,000 to 3,000 people. It is only accessible by plane. There are no roads that connect to this region, and he serves in many of these communities. I think he's been to 12 or 13 of them. He serves, for the past 13 years, he's been there in this place.
Can you explain to people the terrain and stuff of that area in Alaska, and what their daily life is like? About how are there stores, are there gas stations, whatnot? Because I know it's very remote.
Yes, it's very isolated. The regions in which Father Scott serves are geographically isolated from a lot of the rest of the world. You know, you've heard of Anchorage, you've heard of Juneau or Fairbanks. Like, those are more accessible locations. But Dillingham, Alaska, in that kind of southwest region is very remote. There's a lot of rivers, there's dense tundra, there's just a lot of mountains. It's a little bit flatter. You're along the Bristol Bay, and there's a big culture of hunting and gathering and fishing, and canneries actually are kind of the fixtures within these communities. A lot of people have worked there, you know, generations of family members have worked in these canneries, and so that's kind of the industry in this area. There's only a few stores, there's really no restaurants, so a lot of these people have learned to be self-sufficient, independent. There's no movie theater. You're very kind of on your own devices to kind of plan your day as to what to do outside or so. But it is, even though it's isolating, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Wonderful. Tell us about Father Scott.
Father Scott is a bush pilot priest, and he's based out of Dillingham, Alaska. So that's kind of his home parish, but he also serves a lot of different communities. And the two other communities that he serves most regularly are Clark's Point and King Salmon. So he has two parishes there that he itinerates back and forth, usually once a week, depending upon the weather. You also have a climate that is unpredictable.
Right.
It could be foggy one morning, and then the sun will come out, and it'll be, you know, sunny and really nice, and then all of a sudden it'll start snowing. So you have this unpredictable climate. You think Chicago is kind of bad, where it's windy in the morning, and then it'll be 70, you know, in the evening, and then you put on your coat. So being really in tune with the place that you're living in is important. And Father Scott, being a pilot, being a bush pilot, is very in tune with kind of the weather and the risks that come with flying in such a geographically isolated place.
Was he a pilot before he became a priest?
He was not necessarily a pilot. He worked he was a plane mechanic. So he was always kind of around planes. He was familiar with it. And he actually took a trip up to Alaska, I think, to work on a fishing boat in the summer to do
he's
salmon
not native
fishing.
Alaska.
No, he's not from Alaska. He's from, I believe, Bend, Oregon. So he kind of stumbled upon Alaska during his, I want to say, late 20s.
Do we know what diocese that is up there?
What's actually quite interesting is I think Juneau and
there's only two dioceses.
Yeah, so you've got the Diocese of Anchorage, and then I think you've got Fairbanks and Juneau. One of the two are combined.
We're spoiled in Chicago. You know, we have a diocese that's in our general area, but when you get out to Montana and Nebraska and stuff, the dioceses are a lot larger.
Yes.
You know, in the span. So what is his daily life like as a priest there? Because we're used to going across to the rectory and knocking on the door and Father's there. But
I would say it's very unconventional to the experience of most priests. First off, he flies to remote villages. That's kind of a big deterrent from, you know, what other people do. He does a lot of maintenance around the church. He is kind of the only person in, you know, that serves within this community. So he's responsible for the bookkeeping, the maintenance of the church, keeping up, you know, the sacraments for people. He holds mass. He doesn't have a lot of support around him. So to see all the things that he does weekly, you know, even the little minuscule tasks of you know, making sure the cemetery is clean, or maintaining the crosses on the, you know, the cemetery, because they don't have stone. You can't fly in stone. So a lot of things are made out of wood, so all the crosses are wood. So it's kind of working within kind of this limited resource space.
Did he say why he wanted to be a priest or in that area? Does he share any of that, or does he share why he became a priest?
I think from my observation, his personality matches really well with this kind of rural place. He's a little more introverted, and he is very open about that. And I think that helps, because if you have somebody that's super like bubbly, I mean, he's a lot of fun. Like, he's really cool. But someone that needs to have like a big social life in terms of being really involved in like parish activities and just being surrounded by tons of people all the time, I think that personality type would not work.
You said he makes YouTube videos?
Yes, he does. So,
what does he do for, what are the topics, and what is he?
The topics, so he's got one channel that's about Father Scott hikes, and so he goes on Caminos. So he's done, I want to say probably 4 Caminos, and so he documents his whole journey.
Like the El Camino, or he does his own walkabout?
Well, he's done, I believe, the El Camino, but also other ones in like Italy or Spain, or I think he went to Guatemala recently. So it's kind of, he documents these journeys, you know, the people that he meets, you know, just kind of like a vlog. And he's just kind of vlogging and keeping documentation on what he's doing there. And then also he has some videos of him flying to communities. So they're kind of fun. They're like from 13 years ago, and it's like a old, you know, still camera, and it's, you know, a little bit grainy. And I actually included some of his vlogs into my documentary, because I thought it kind of would show his like his own kind of commitment, his personality, and his own kind of interest in this. Like, I'm making a documentary about him, but he's also documenting this mission in his own way. So I wanted to kind of combine those two things.
He sounds like an interesting guy. So what are your plans next?
My plans next?
Yeah, from the fellowship. What do you hope to do?
What do I hope to do? I think to continue making stories like this one about communities and places that people might normally not see in mainstream media. I think everyone has a story to tell, and to kind of find that unique perspective, or, you know, meeting people where they are and allowing them the space to do that.
We wish you the best. So folks, before we go, let's plug the Chicago Catholic. You can find us online at chicagocatholic.com. You can see what Cardinal Cupich is up to. There's a synod going on right now, so you'll find updates from the synod in Rome, which Cardinal is at. And you can follow us on social media. You can sign up for our free e-newsletter. You can support our ministry. We're $30 a year, and that helps support our ministry here in the Archdiocese of Chicago. And you can find this blog and lots more on chicagocatholic.com. And Malina, thank you so much. I hope lots of people get to see Father Scott and your documentary. And well done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, till next time, everybody. Bye-bye.